Welcome back, everybody. And as promised, I have my good buddy Inaas Arabi. Inaas, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it. I'm really excited about spending some time with you.
So, you and I go back when you were actually at RealPage back in the day.
That is
So,
correct.
so just kind of give us a little bit of your kind of your history. Just, give me your 50 plus years in like 3 minutes.
Awesome. Awesome. So it hasn't been 50 yet.
Oh,
But
I think everybody's as old as I am. That's why. So
well, you know what? I appreciate you too. It's been about 25 years actually, and I've gone through multiple things. Yes, we know each other from my days at RealPage, but prior to RealPage, I started in the early 2000s. I scaled a property management and a brokerage, which I sold to a prominent franchise. Um, and then later on, I worked for American Homes for Rent, which is the second largest owner operator in the nation. They had 436 doors when I started with them. By the time I left, there were 37,000 doors.
so
And
you've seen some
today,
growth. You've seen some.
yes.
Yeah.
And today they are close to like, I think, 65, 70,000. So they're definitely have been growing and a lot of growth since I even left them. We took that company public. And then after doing that, I went to work for Altosource, who was starting a property management division, also almost from scratch, third party, but specifically for institutional investors. We work with our in-house fund as well as private funds and private offices and family offices, and we scaled that up to close to about 11,000 units, and then we sold that to or merged it with another company that got sold. The final stage for it was Progress Residential, which is I think the third largest in today's world on the owner operator front. Um, Left Altosource, and then that's when I went to RealPage. I was the GM for PropertyWare, one of the best property management softwares out there.
I agree.
Uh, was there for about 3 years. We scaled a couple of things that I'm really proud of that I'm hoping that people still remember. One is the redoing of the entire application process that we did from scratch for PropertyWare. We also did the improvements on the vendor marketplace and the APIs and all of that, and some of the UI changes on some of the screens that we've had. And then once Tama Bravo took RealPage private, I exited, left, and then did some consulting. Worked for a company called My Community Homes. We started their property management platform. They were brand new, backed by PE firm, and they were trying to build out a portfolio of single family rentals in the southeast. We grew that up quite large, actually, very quickly. Like we bought about 3,000 homes in about 100 days, which was very nice. Then after that, I worked for Zillow for a little bit in their Zillow Offers program. The Zillow Offers, if people don't know, this was where Zillow was buying houses, renovating them, and then selling them again on the open market. And then after they've sunsetted that program, I've consulted with a couple of companies, one of which is called Hybrid Capital. I was their head product. My job was basically to build the ecosystem of services and products for them. And then about a couple of years ago, I hitched my wagon to Block and Associates Realty. This is a very, very interesting company. It's a third-party property management company entrenched into the a very long history of providing great service in North Carolina as a property manager, but they really were struggling to grow and they're struggling to set up for operational excellence and scalability. And that's what they brought me in as their chief operating officer to be able to build on all of those things. And today I'm happy to report that we've done all of those three things. We've grown up by quite a bit, doubled the size of the portfolio on the rental market, opened up two business lines in addition to the rental property market, an HOA, scaled that up to about 7,500 units under management now, as well as internal maintenance business that's doing about $950,000 worth of revenue a year. We've done all of the redesigning for the setup to make the company ready for scale. And then finally, we're going around and perfecting our process and people to have much better operational excellence throughout the entire business. So that's the whole thing. It's been more than 3 minutes. I apologize, but I figured that it was important for us to kind of share. Um, I love this industry and I love talking about it. So I'm happy to be able to have this conversation today.
Man, that is a lot of incredible experience that you have.
Thank you.
And you have been, a key cog in helping not one, but two, but three, but four companies really scale. So I got so many questions, but the first one that comes up to mind is, look, we're on a NARPM podcast, and the majority of NARPM members are in that less than 1,000 unit, right? It's about like there are a few of us out there that have multiple markets, but usually it's one market, maybe two, and around 1,000 units. What do you think is the biggest mindset from somebody who goes like America Homes for Rent? They had 400 units, now they have like whatever 30 something thousand block, or any of these folks. What's the difference between those guys and the property management company that's around that 200 to 1,000 units?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So let's break this down into like three specifics. The number one is you got to do your job and you got to do it well, right? What I mean by that is you have to have operational excellence. Even if you're a small company does not mean that you're not doing a great job, right? Um, Second, you have to be able to be set up for scale or scalability. So if let's say you're a 200 unit company and you're running that with two people or three people, you really got to start thinking about what would look like if I move from being a 200 unit company to 300 unit, or if I'm 1,000, I go from 1,000 to 1,500. What does that mean? What does it need to have? How would I be able to scale it? Right. And then obviously, third is mindset for growth. Some people are comfortable and happy with their 200 units, and I kudos to them if they're doing a good job. Lovely, wonderful. But if you're not happy with 200 units and you really truly want to grow, then you have to have that mindset for growth. And you also have to have all of the backing from an operational excellence and scalability point of view in order for you to be able to grow. So I'll give you a couple of examples that might be helpful.
Please do.
If you walk into a company and all your employees are basically saying, I can't take on any more owners, right? I don't want any more business because I'm stressed, I'm overworked, I'm this and
Every
that.
property
Whatever.
manager says that, right?
Right? Exactly. That is a hindrance for your growth. Because guess what's going to happen when you decide to grow? These people are going to either leave you or they're not going to do a good job, right?
Yeah,
Why?
or your salespeople don't sell because the team is stressed out, right? So they kind of pick up on that, and so they, subconsciously don't sell.
100%, exactly. But um, if you walk into an operation and you have a capacity where like you've built out the structure that still gives you a little bit of room to be able to take on more, then if you do take on those more, you're not stressed of like, okay, what do I do? How do I do it? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? You've already thought about that. And that's the whole scalability perspective and what you need to set yourself up for scalability. I'd like to talk about block in a sense of that scalability because that might be a really good example here, I think.
Okay.
So when earlier on in the day, Block was set up in a property management centric or property manager centric operation. So you walked in, it's a property manager that does pretty much everything, right? They had maybe an assistant who did the turns, they had maybe somebody else to do something else, but they were the focal point.
So more of like a portfolio based um, setup structure.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, that's it. And look, you can scale that business too. But for us, when we looked at it, that wasn't the right setup for scale. Because if I wanted to add another 1,000 units, it meant that I had to add just as many as I had in property managers to be able to do that.
Yep.
And quite frankly, when you have that many people doing the same job, what happens? Your standardization goes down the drain, right? What that means.
Yeah, every portfolio manager kind of runs it a little bit differently, right?
Exactly. And then for you to be able to keep up with that standard becomes really hard, really difficult, and you start losing that operational excellence.
Yeah.
So
Also, like
you
they leave and they take all of their knowledge with them, and sometimes a lot of clients with them as
That's 100% correct. Somebody said it the other day, which I totally agree. That look, I mean, owners leave just as fast as your employees do.
well.
Um, Now, if you think about this and you're saying to yourself, all right, how can I allow my company to be able to grow without breaking the bank, like without kind of tripling my number of people in the company and tripling the expense that comes with that?
Yeah, because that's kind of the biggest roadblock that most people would say.
Precisely. Then you start thinking about, okay, what elements could make sense for me to offload to maybe a remote employee or an international employee. Okay. And look, before I dive into doing this, I know there is a lot of possible negativity around it. So let me just be absolutely clear about several things. Number one, this is not to exploit people. Number two, this is not to take advantage of any people. Number three, this is not to take work away from Americans. And then number four, it's helping business. And then number five, it's profitable. Okay. But now, with all of that, let me talk a little bit about details of what we've done at Block. We
Okay.
recognized that there is a lot of conversations that happens between our tenants and our property manager that yields no revenue to us. So conversations like, um, hey, how do I find a copy of my lease? Right?
Right.
Where do I pay my rent? Or hey, I have my friend coming over and I need a parking pass. Or um, hey, I'm leaving town and my fiance or my whatever is going to be visiting the property where I was gone. Like there was a lot of that conversation, right?
Mhm.
They're good conversations to have, but are they to the level of a property manager taking precious time out of the day to have them with the tenant? Our answer was no. There is the right conversations that a property manager needs to have with their tenants, like where's my rent? How can we collect? How can we work through some issues? That we leave with the property manager, but everything else is not. So what we did is we established a position that is called tenant coordinator. This is an international employee who's ours. We've used VPM to be able to find them. Thank you to VPM. It's really, really great product. When we found them, we hired them full time. They were assigned to a certain number of properties as a portfolio, and they were responsible to be able to handle those phone calls with those tenants. What that did freed up the precious time on our property manager to be able to do the more important elements, which is having conversations with owners or with tenants, but the right conversation with tenants. Is
Yeah,
this
you're
making sense?
you're leveling up the property manager. The property manager is no longer doing the $10 an hour job. The property manager is doing the $50 an hour job. And the property manager now becomes more of an asset manager than a property manager.
I love what you said because you didn't know, but we actually call our property managers asset managers, and we are set up in an asset management perspective, not a property manager.
Words matter.
Yeah,
Words
words
when
absolutely
I'm
matter.
when I'm an investor and I call and somebody says that that's your asset manager, that makes me feel different than if somebody says it's my property manager. I call, my big joke is I call property managers gophers. The investor owner calls me as the property manager, says, go to my house and go, fill the pool with water. Go to my house and sit there for 4 hours, make sure the gas guy comes, turns on the gas. I want to talk to you about this 12 cents that was, it should have been $14. Now it's $14.12. All that stuff, like, once you're an asset manager, that stuff goes away and your team handles all that lower level stuff.
100%. 100%.
So tell
Um,
me about Block in general. So when you started working with Block as a
yes.
consultant, what were they at as a door count and where are they at today? And then kind of talk more about how what their structure morphed into from portfolio to what?
Yes. So there were sub thousand, there were like 975, just
One
few.
market.
They were in one state. They had one and a half offices. So they had a full office and a kind of like a satellite office.
Mhm.
Uh, so then today, where we're at, we are uh, close to 2,000 units by the, well, 2,000 units on the rental property management. We started an HOA management business as well. That we scaled that up to 7,500 units and 150 HOAs. And then we also did the internal maintenance that is doing close to about $1 million worth of revenue a year. To, as of 2025, our goals by the end of 2025, we will get to about 4,500 rental units, 9,000 HOA units, and close to about a $1.5 million worth of revenue on the maintenance. Those
All
are
right.
our goals.
Let me talk about that. Okay, so you have a goal of 4,500 units by what year was it?
The end of this year, 2025.
2025.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How do you come up with that number? Because a lot of people just pull it out of the air, right? Um, my business partners do this all the time. Steve, like, hey, we're gonna get to 1,000 units, by next year. I'm like, okay, great. So now I put the number out there. What does that mean? How did you get that number?
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have to figure out what's your growth strategy and find the right goals that support those growth strategies. So, for example, if you are completely organic and that's the only way that you're growing, there's probably no way for us to be able to get to 4,500 in a matter of 7, 8 months left in the year, right? But
Okay.
our growth strategy is twofold. We do organic growth. We also do acquisitions, and we buy companies and we roll them up into the block methodology and the block setup. And we've got business lined up to be able to do that, or opportunities lined up for us to be able to get us to that number. It's a number that we calculated based on all the probability of closing these deals and also doing the organic growth that we're known for and we're talking about. Having that we are, if I roll this back and I say, okay, you're a company that is doing this completely in an organic growth, then you really have to have a goal that makes sense. It might be like we're growing 20%, it might be growing 15%. That would be a lot more closely accurate based on what you see on the organic growth. But for us, it's much larger
So you're still
because of
gonna
that.
you're still gonna so you're gonna forecast based on like, okay, if we're gonna do organic growth, these are the 10 strategies that we've had. We look back last year, these 10 strategies, each one gave us just say 10 doors a month. That's 100 doors a month and then we're gonna have a 20% churn rate, and then that's gonna be our forecast for the end of the year. Something like that.
Correct. 100%. 100%.
But even if
And
you're smaller, even if you're smaller, you can find realtors that maybe
yeah,
manage 5, 10, 15, 20 doors, and you can purchase them or take them over. So even if you're a smaller company and you want to grow and you think, man, I can't buy anybody or anything, you'd be surprised if you actually put a strategy towards it. You can probably find a couple of people that manage 20 doors or whatever that might, that would probably sell them or even give them to you.
that's 100% accurate. Some of the smaller deals that we've had were exactly what you described. A realtor that had 20, 30 doors that they were managing for a while. Now they don't want to manage them anymore. Either they're getting busier on the real estate or they're just too much legality and they don't want to get the phone call at 2 a.m. in the morning for maintenance. You can purchase those. The other thing that you also got to keep in mind, some of the larger companies like us that they go through acquisitions, they may not want to keep every door that we're getting from those acquisitions, and we might want to sell off like a small
Got it.
subset
So
of some of those
you buy
doors.
200 doors and you sell off 30 of them or something like that.
Exactly, right? It might be because look, when you're small, you can afford to do everything and anything, right? Um, like I'll give you a perfect
That's actually a
example.
brilliant model because instead of having a churn, you know that these doors are probably going to churn,
Yeah,
right? You might as well
100%.
sell them before they churn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and look, and we believe in specialty and expertise, right? We're not a commercial, property manager. We're not a property manager that does by the room or by the door or by the
Right,
bed or
right,
something
right.
like that. Or
Pat split. Yeah.
yeah, or short-term rental. I mean, this is, or even the new thing nowadays, like the furnished,
Yeah, I've been hearing
corporate
more about that.
style, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't do any of that. Nothing wrong with it,
Right.
right?
So if you buy a
Everyone has
portfolio that has a few of those in there, you're gonna just turn around and flip them out.
exactly because we know that we're not going to do great job for them. We know that they're going to be better supported by going into the expert in that kind of field. And yes, we're going to sell them off. We may not make money on selling them off. Like whatever we paid for them is we're going to collect, but it gives those smaller companies the opportunity to be able to grow by, smaller acquisitions like what we're talking about. It does
Right.
not have to be multiple hundreds of doors that you're purchasing all the time. It could be small. It could be something of what we're describing.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Sometimes it might,
if you're a smaller firm, want to grow, you can talk to some of the bigger firms out there and say, hey, anything that you buy that you don't want,
yeah.
part of that.
The,
Yeah.
the other thing too, Pete, is locality, right? So let's say we bought a portfolio in two localities, one that has very low, volume compared to the other. Some companies might say, look, I might divest that small portfolio somewhere because I just can't, service it well. And that local market might have someone who would love to be able to take those extra doors and do a really extra wonderful job at them.
All right, so I'm going to go back to you have the forecast of the 4,500 units. Okay, obviously you have some ideas on when you're going to purchase these. How do you then determine and forecast your team and the structure?
Fantastic. So this is exactly part of the problem that most companies go through, and Block had to go through that as well. You create a model, an employment model that actually is ready for scalability. So I can share what we're doing with Block.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit.
We figured that the best approach is the asset management approach, but it's also within the pod structure. So I'll explain a little bit more.
Okay.
If you think about what's important, there are license activities that needs to take place by a licensed individual that needs to be in the US. It's a must, right? Those things are never questioned. They're never going to be argued against. We're never going to waver on doing those. Examples of some of this is like leasing. It's got to be done by a leasing person,
Yep.
right? Um, rent,
Negotiating lease renewals.
negotiating lease renewals, negotiating rental credits if there is a maintenance issue, right?
And negotiating PMAs.
Negotiating PMAs, right? On top of that, too, is figuring out what would you want to do financially well for that owner, and that's where that asset management kind of comes into play. And we figured if we can couple to a listing agent or a leasing agent, we call them listing agents, and an asset manager together with a couple of more international employees, one of them that does the tenant coordination, the
Mm-hmm.
other one does the maintenance coordination.
Yeah, I was just
And
going to
then
get there. Yep.
when
Okay.
you put those four together, they can support a portfolio much larger in aggregate in comparison to if they're doing it individually, right?
Yep.
And then that becomes your model. So we know for every X amount of doors, we're going to need these four people. So if I go buy a company that has that many doors, that I know I got to stand up another team. And this is my team, and this is how I scale. Now, it sometimes it may not be.
Question on that. Do you departmentalize book the property accounting, or do you have the property
We do.
management, property accounting?
No, we do.
So
So,
you have a
so it's
pod, and then you
departmental.
have a couple. You might have a department that
Yeah.
runs the accounting. Got it.
All shared services, we typically do them on a department basis. So, like, we're talking
Field
accounting, we're
techs.
talking assessments, we're talking like HR, right? All of that, it's all on shared services. So we do it as a department, but the actual people that they're working on properties, it's that pod that we created with the four people.
Based
Um,
on how you guys run your business, I know it's different for everybody, but just based on that, on average, how many units is that? Is that like 400 units? Is
four
that
to 500.
400 to 500 units?
Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
4 to 500 units. Now, and again, I want to be also clear. It's not it's not like an absolute perfect science, like meaning it's not a where if I'm a 480, I'm not going to get anybody unless I get to 500, right? Like you need to understand, you need to be flexible to what your growth model looks like, and you need to
Yeah,
have
because
capacity.
the big question is when do I kind of split off another amoeba, so to speak? When do I split off another pod, right? Because then if you have a pod with 5 units, you're losing you're obviously the pod's negative, right? So
Right.
how do you solve that challenge?
Right. So you solve it for us is like at that 500 level. That's when we know, okay, we got to need another one. Right. Um, and we also could figure out how we can work through what that will take as far as time, and then be prepared for the hirement of all of those folks in time to be ready to go. Sometimes, and I would admit, like
Yeah,
if
because
we
you have to hire people and you have to train them, and that takes time. You can't just, find somebody in one day and put them in there and say, "Here you go, you manage these 200 units, with a team. Good luck."
precisely, precisely. But if you use that for us, the threshold between 400 to 500,
Mhm.
that gives you about 100 units worth of capacity that you can work through until you're ready,
So
right?
you hire somebody, they kind of work under that property manager, kind of a monkey see, monkey do training approach, and then when they get to that 500, they split off and take 100 units with them, and then they get their leasing agent.
Exactly. Right.
That's brilliant.
Right.
I like that.
Right. Right. And most of the time, because we're not just running one team, most of the time we've got, so it might be few properties from each team to bring them all down to that 400 to keep them at the scale, right? Um,
With
so
that model, how do you handle if a property manager needs to go on vacation for a week? Or so what happens now? Because you really got one property manager for these 400 or 500 units. Does
yes,
the team take it over, or does another property manager from another portfolio take on like some of the escalations or whatever?
right. So number one, they're asset managers; they're not property managers for us. But
My
number two,
mistake. My
that's all
mistake.
right. That's all right. I just want to make sure that we're both on the same page.
That's right.
Number two, if you think about the team dynamic, right?
Mhm.
They're not necessarily handing over the entire operations for that portfolio when they're going on PTO on vacation. Because think about it,
Because they
you
only
have
handle a
somebody,
portion of the.
yeah, somebody is managing the tenant communication, somebody is managing the maintenance, somebody is managing the leasing activity. So you're handing off a
Basically
por-
owner comms, right? Owner comms.
a portion of that, and at that point, we typically do uh, like the buddy system. So, like if I am buddied with another asset manager and I am on PTO, they're handling my portfolio. If they need help, they reach out to the, head of asset management to be able to help them out. And the opposite is true when the asset manager too is out and I am their buddy. I am basically handling their portfolio while they're out. But remember, they're not handling every little thing in that portfolio. It's
They're
split
handling
up.
basically escalations and just regular owner comms. And most of the time, if an owner reaches out on a Wednesday and say, "Hey, I'm Becca, but Anas will be back on Monday. Is somebody can help you with?" Now just get to Anas on Monday, basically.
Precisely. Yes. Yes. Especially if they know like all of the urgent matters have been taken care of, right? Like if there is an emergency maintenance issues, they're not waiting for me or anyone to be able to take care of them. The maintenance coordinator is absolutely doing that, right?
Yep.
Um, Now we do also buddy up title to title. So for example, all of my maintenance coordinators, they're buddying up with each other. So if my maintenance coordinator A is out, their buddy partner B is handling them for that day until they come in and vice versa. They also have a supervisor that it's also interjected if there is a need or an escalation or something that's bigger, require a little bit more information or more work, or if they're just covering for somebody while they're out in an emergency. We've had
Yep.
those as well, right?
Yeah, what I
Same
like
thing.
about the model as well, like if one portfolio is really low on work orders for whatever reason, that week or that month, but another portfolio is really high, what I have found was with this model is like, hey, I'm low on tickets. Let me go ahead and help you out. And I've seen that happen when we ran a very similar model at Empire, and
Right.
we've seen that happen all the time. And the buddy system works.
Yeah, 100%. And you nailed it, Pete. And that's why I love kind of talking to brilliant people like yourselves because you get what we're trying to do. It's exactly that. When one day, like let's say it's slow in one of the portfolios, but one of the other portfolios is overworked, they can always help each other out because
Yep.
technically they're expert in their little fields, right?
Hmm.
Like that maintenance coordinator is an expert in maintenance. Whether they're doing maintenance on property A or property C, it's the same process that they're doing. So they can easily fill in for that. The same thing with the tenant coordinator, the same thing with the asset manager, same thing with the listing agent. It's the same job, just different property.
Yep.
So if they needed to work or help a buddy of theirs in their portfolio for a week or a day or whatever, they
They
can
can do it.
easily do that without a
They
problem.
may not know the property intimately, like the maintenance coordinator for that portfolio, but they can get the job done for the most part, right? So
Yeah.
agreed with you there. All right,
Yeah.
Nas, I could talk to you all day, man, but we're running against time. I'm going to take a quick commercial break and then we're going to put you on the lightning round.
Awesome. All right. Looking forward to it.
All right, we'll be right back, everybody. All right, welcome back, everybody. Inaas Arabi, you are getting ready to be on the lightning round. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it, Pete. Let's
All
go
right,
for it.
here you go. What property management software does Block use? We're going to go with Block since this is your big client right now.
Yes. So Block is on Appfolio as a property management software. There is a slew of other softwares that kind of support that. So it's not the only software. We are very similar to a lot of other companies. We run anywhere between 7 to 13 different softwares. Quite frankly, on we've also used Appfolio for HOA, but we found it to be a little bit less effective.
Mm,
So we've recently got into Sync, CINC, that is specific for HOA management. And if you think about them this way, Sync is equivalent to Appfolio. One of them is managing the HOAs from an accounting perspective. The other one is managing the rental portfolio.
got it. Do you all use any type of automation processing software like Apply, Lead Simple?
Yeah. So we do. Um, Given the background in IT that I am, so we're really big
Built it
on.
yourself, didn't you? Process?
Yes,
Did you build it in
yes.
Process Street?
So we're really big on that, and we've utilized AI in two ways recently that might be extremely important to mention. One, Property Melt came out with their Max product. We were one of the first companies to actually use it. We love it. It's a great product. It's doing a fantastic job for us. Um, it reduced our front end for like a month by about 37%. That's a reduction of the number of work orders that we're taking through. So we really like it. There is another software that we deployed that basically does communication and workflow. So it does all of the standardization of taking all communication under one omni channel. And then you can take that and you task it to the right department, to the right team based on all the assignments. And then
Cool.
on top of all of that, you also built out all of your rights, what I would say, tasking systems that allows you to be able to close out the tasks as they come through for that team, for that person on that team. And we've look, this is a never ending thing. You always strive for the betterment of it. So I'm sure if you talk to me next year, we probably have employed or deployed other things to be better at it. The name of the game, as you know, Pete, with this business is you have to manage your process.
Yeah.
And you need a way to be able to find a ticketing system of some sort that allows you to be able to go through your workflow, because if you don't manage your workflow.
You know, that could we could have you back on that because I think a ticketing system, just talking about that whole concept, that alone could be another podcast.
100%.
It changed my business when I went to a ticketing system. All
Absolutely.
right. What is one piece of advice you'd give someone who wants to grow their PM business?
Ah, um, Number one is do your job right, like have operational excellence first before you want to go grow.
Be ready for growth.
And then number two, scale to grow, like build for scalability to be able to take on the growth. Um,
What do you
the
mean by,
worst
do
thing,
you mean hire people or get systems? What do you actually mean by that?
set yourself up. Remember, we just talked about it.
Mhm.
I provided the example of like Block, for example. You have to look at the business and you have to say, is this ready to be scaled?
Got it.
And look, I'm not saying the only way to scale it is through the asset management model. That's certainly not what I'm saying. But even if you're scaling it through the property manager model, right? Then you need to have enough capacity to be able to do that. The worst thing in the world, if you go get the business and you don't have a way to support it, if
Churn
you don't
happens.
have a way to support it, you're going to get churned because you're not going to do a good job. It's
Yep.
simple,
Got it.
math.
So
Uh,
you're a big fan on building for growth. Just make sure that we understand. So like, hey, I'm going to go hire potential people because my existing people are kind of they're redlined right now. I'm gonna go hire, train some people, and then we're gonna go, and then we're gonna build for growth.
100%. But
Okay.
be very selective on the hiring, if I may add, because you don't want to just duplicate to duplicate, right? Like
Yep.
if you think about some of the things that I've just shared with you, even if you're a property manager centric model, if you are able to provide an assistant PM that might be an international employee for that PM that could take away a lot of the administrative tasks, let's
Yep.
call them that, right? And do that well. You now are able to open up the capacity for that PM. So they might go from managing 50, 70 properties to managing 100, 125. Now, even though you didn't end up hiring another PM, you actually opened up capacity to be able to take on growth. Does that make sense? And that's where you got to build for scalability. And it's not always just double up with everything you're doing. It's really analysis of
Yep.
what you need,
You can be very um what's the word I'm looking for?
methodical about how you do it.
Yep. Yep. All right. What is your ideal vacation?
Anywhere away from all the communication mediums. So no phones, no social media, no anything. So it might be like on the beach somewhere, just being a really a what they call them, like a beach body or a beach couch or something
Beach
like that.
bum. Beach
Beach
bum.
bum. Thank you for like a day or two. That would be brilliant. But I would honestly admit I'm a workaholic by nature, so I've never been able to do this for a very long amount of time. Uh, the most I've been able to do it is about 2 to 3 days.
I'm with you, man. I about 5, 7 days, and then I get anxious and I got to get back to work. I'm
Yes,
with you. Um,
yes.
okay. What is a book or a podcast that you would recommend?
So some companies they like to follow the EOS system. I think it's a great system. There's a lot of benefit to it. And look, just like everything else in life, right? No system is perfect, but this particular system might have a lot of usability for the real estate, specifically for property management, because it kind of keeps you on task of what you need to do. And I would say Traction, the book Traction, is probably the best first book that I would start or advising people to read if they're thinking EOS is the right model that they want to take after or they want to model after. Um, if
Uh,
that's not if that's not it, then there's plenty of great other books out there, that could be very helpful in business and social.
Big fan of Traction and Gino Wickman.
Yeah.
All right. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
So I am a fanatic about my pizza because I've lived in Chicago for like a long time and I love the Chicago style pizza and
All
that
right.
pizza does not have pineapple on it. So I'm gonna say no for pineapple.
All right. You're a deep dish guy, though, huh?
I am a deep dish guy.
Deep
Yes,
dish
sir.
guy. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. You prefer dogs or cats?
Uh, Neither, not because I don't like animals, it's just because I travel a lot and I am working a lot and I don't have time for pets. I believe that if you are to get pets, you really need to have enough time for that and you need to be ready and willing and able to do it. They're just like similar to having kids. And if I'm not to that point, I wouldn't do that to any animal. And because of that, I would say no to two of them.
Got it.
Again, not
Me
because I
neither.
hate animals, just because I'm not ready
All
for
right. I had one
them.
person say, can I say turtles instead? And so they took turtles and can leave them alone for a long time, I guess.
Hey, turtles. My niece, I got a turtle for my niece once, and it worked beautifully for her and for me. It's something that we talk about all the time. And you're right, it's a low maintenance pet, but yet still gives you that
I had a
full on
turtle. I had a turtle when I was a kid and it ran away. I don't know how I lost a turtle because, they're not very fast, but it literally ran away. Yeah.
How could you have lost a turtle?
I
They
was like
walk pretty
three, man. I was
slow.
like three. So I'm going to blame my dad. Like, how did he
Oh,
lose the turtle? Like, I was 3 years old, right?
he might have just thrown it out just because
He
he didn't see you
probably
committed
probably
enough
told me it ran away.
to be able to do it.
Today's years old when I finally figured that one out.
Yeah, I
Oh
love it,
man.
man. I love it.
All
I
right,
love it.
Nas. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, what's a great way to connect with you?
I mean, I'd say the best thing is either via a cell. I mean, give you my number 630-329-5000 or through email Inaas Arabi, it's the same spelling as my first name, last name, no dots, no dashes, at gmail.com
All
or
right.
at inaasablock.com. That's fine too. Block Realty.
Yeah. You want any of the socials?
I am on LinkedIn. That's the
LinkedIn.
only
All right, I'm on
social that I'm
LinkedIn.
on. So if anybody wants to connect with me there, by all means,
Yeah.
feel free to do so. I'm always happy to help. So if somebody has a question or concern, look, don't be shy. I'll try to help you as much as I can because I feel compelled to be able to do that for people. At one point of life, people have helped me as well. So I want to pay it forward and do the same thing with everyone around.
And Nas is a wealth of knowledge, and he and I has had conversations offline. He's been very helpful to me, so I appreciate you, Nas. If you want to join NARPM, go to narpm.org or call the good people there at 800-782-3452. And if you want to be cool like Anas and have Property Meld certified virtual team members, we have them on VPM Solutions. You can take the candidates can take courses in Property Meld, pass an exam, get a certification. They become VPM certified property melders. And you can go to vpmsolutions.com or email me at pete@vpmsolutions.com. Nas, thanks for being here. See you, everybody.
Appreciate you, Pete. Thank you, guys.